Today we're going to be talking about leadership and duplication. And I think this is a huge thing, like moving forward with your business. If you want to shoot for elite, if you want to be 2-star, if you want to grow your business, this is totally key. And it's one of my favorite things to talk about, really. So first of all, who remembers our call to action from last week? You guys remember what that was? Go ahead, Christina.
I got to find my notes here because I'm such a scatterbrain.
So let's see. We talked about the 3 disciplines of self-leadership and what it means to be a business owner versus like an employee, right? And we talked a little bit about consistency, but I think that putting together your 3 disciplines of self-leadership is definitely a great thing in order to get your goals met through putting in place actions that are in alignment with your desired outcome. But we'll go ahead and move forward into this one today. So there's a few different things that I think you can do in order to plug duplication in on your team. But first, what I'd like to ask you guys is, what are you guys doing on your team to unlock duplication to work for you? Anybody have any tips or anything that you guys have done that you've seen has worked well?
What I'm doing is I'm trying to be more consistent with making one-on-one monthly calls with my coaches to find out what it is that's holding them back from doing certain things, what their goals are, what their hesitations are, and trying to really get to the root of what is holding them back from pursuing the business in full effect, to try to motivate them to push past their fears and go for it. So I don't know that that's really duplication, but my coach has been very one-on-one and putting fears aside for me, and that's been extremely helpful in kind of putting my fears to rest and, moving forward.
Good deal. That's great. So one thing I'd like to address today is kind of getting pulled into team management mode. Team management mode can suck you in sometimes, and it's a tar pit that's difficult to get out of once you step into it. That's like a lot of hand-holding, a lot of like trying to get your coaches to do things when they're not responding, right? What happens generally with people is once they reach diamond, they automatically, or they all of a sudden have this team on their hands. And a lot of people move, there's a switch in mindset. It goes from offense to defense. Just totally, the switch clicks on in the diamond's brain, and it's like, okay, I got to hold this person. I got to hold this person. I got to make sure that this works. And all of a sudden, it's kind of like the little Dutch boy that has his finger and his toe and everything else in all sorts of little holes in the dam. And it gets hard to build the business when you're in management mode. So what I'd like to ask you guys to do is to just think about how many hours you're spending on the business. If you were to say, okay, every day I'm spending X amount of hours on Beachbody. And then if you were to divide those hours into 2 different categories, one being team management and the other being recruiting and sales, what would the percentage look like? Like, how would that break down? Like, are you spending 60% of your time in team management, or 40% of your time in recruiting, or like what would that look like? But what I'm going to ask you guys to do is try and focus towards a number that we've seen has been very beneficial, which is 80-20. 80% of your time should be focused on your recruiting and your sales, and 20% of your time should be focused on team management. Now, in order to do that, you truly have to unlock duplication to work for you. So let's talk about a few different ways that you can do that. The first way that I have that I'd like to suggest for you guys is duplication through delegation. So, for example, if you're running a team call, you kind of have to know the people on your team. Like, who do you have? What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? In which ways can they contribute? And how can they add value to the team? So, for example, if Kara's got somebody on her team that is like an Instagram wizard, then it's like, okay, if that person's name's Amber, then you say, Amber, obviously you're doing a fantastic job with your Instagram. I'd love it if you could, excuse me, I'd love it if you could do the team call. on Instagram and kind of teach other people what you're doing. I think that would really add a lot of value. So that's going to do multiple things. All of a sudden, Amber is going to grow as a leader. She's going to be able to present to other people. Your team's going to grow because she's going to be sharing valuable information. And also, you're not going to have to do everything for your team by yourself anymore. You're not going to have to present everything. You're not going to have to do everything on your own. A concept that you might want to think about is a leader of the week. If you add a leader of the week, then they'll present, they'll run the group page, they do a few different things like that, and you don't get stuck into handling everything on your own anymore, right? But I would ask, that may or may not be right for your team at this point in time, but what I would tell you is a lot of times people are here at Beachbody to be part of something, to make a difference, right? Some people, they're already in shape. They've already got like a slamming body. They already are like in a good financial spot. So why are they being a Beachbody coach? Because they want to help others. They want to be, they have a need to be needed, And if you give them that platform to stand on to help other people, that's exactly what they're looking for. They want to be fulfilled in what they're doing. And as you give them the opportunity to step up, they're going to do well. Now, what I would say, if you're going to use delegation, is give them a guideline, give them a roadmap. Maybe come up with like some ideas that they can do on a daily basis or a weekly basis if they are going to be the leader of the week, or if they're going to run a call, for example, on your team on Instagram or on social media or inviting or whatever it is. Give them kind of some structure so they don't have to create everything from the ground up. And you can kind of send them a little template on some things they can use that would be helpful. Then you're setting them up for success. They're going to add real value, and they're not going to have to stress totally about what they need to do. But yet you're not going to have to do all the work yourself. So delegation, that's a big one. And I'll tell you this much. If you're going to be a 10-star diamond, or if you're going to be a 15-star diamond, if you're going to be elite coach, top 10 coach, whatever it is, it's a group thing. You can't get there without your group and without plugging them in. So, plugging in the delegation and getting that working for you is going to be a huge deal on your team. Okay. All right. The one thing I would say with that before I move completely on is stop believing you're the only one who can do it. I think a lot of times we feel like, well, if I don't do it, then things aren't going to be done the way I want them to be done, or, not really having the confidence that other people can step up, because believe me, they can. Just give them the framework they need and they'll be good to go. The other thing is a lot of people won't feel burdened by this. Sometimes if you do have confidence in them, but you feel like, I don't want to bother them, I don't want to burden them with this. But believe me, a lot of people would be honored and excited for the opportunity to step up. Okay. So stop fighting that in your head, embrace delegation and let them move forward. Right. Okay. The other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about as far as team management was concerned is team management and also delegation. Team management and duplication is videos. How many of you have created YouTube videos for Beachbody before? Any of you guys done that yet? Okay, so if you haven't, I'm going to give you the challenge today to create a YouTube video on a topic that you constantly have to talk to your team about. Okay, so this is your call to action for this week. If you're always having a conversation about the same thing over and over and over again, you're going to feel tired, first of all, and they're going to kind of feel that you feel tired. And it's just not conducive to a good work environment for you, because you're going to always be saying the same things and you're not going to be able to focus on what you need to be doing, which is recruiting. So, for example, if you've got a video about inviting, or if you've got ideas about inviting, make the video on inviting, share it with your team. And then at that point in time, if they've got questions, you can follow up with them after the video and have a 5 to 10 minute conversation as opposed to, 45-minute training. And then that's going to continue working for you and your team as you grow and as you build. And believe me, your videos aren't going to be perfect at first. They're not going to be amazing. Like, for example, I'm recording this right now, and I hate the way I sound, and I hate the way I look on video. I was like, oh, gosh, dang it. But you know what? You just have to get past it. You get past it because you got to know that video is going to be helpful for your team. It's going to help people grow. And if it's something you're constantly talking to people about, you're going to save yourself a lot of time and a lot of effort, and you're not going to be stuck in that team management mode. That's going to free up time for you to do the things you need to do to build your business. So identify the things you're constantly saying over and over and over and over again, and make a video about it. Okay, that's your call to action for today. One thing I'll tell you as well, this isn't quite duplication oriented, but in a way it kind of is. You can also make videos that are out there to help other people, whether they're fitness related, nutrition related, personal development related, whatever it is. It could be out there to help others who aren't Beachbody coaches. You can tie in how Beachbody's helped you. You can create invites, and then all of a sudden, if your video has real value that you can add to it, I always talk about the 3 E's. It has to be entertaining, engaging, and educational. Okay, so if you have a video that meets the 3 E's, then as long as you know who your audience is, they'll watch it. You need to make sure that your description and your tags and your title and all that stuff are on point. But if the value's there, you're going to get people who will watch. I created like the world's most horrible YouTube video on how to fix something. It was like on how to fix something. It has like 120,000 views right now. And I filmed it in the middle of the night on my kitchen table when my kids are asleep, and I'm like talking kind of in whispered tones and stuff because I didn't want to wake my kids up. And there was value there, and people watched it. But imagine if 120,000 people watched your video, and if you had an invite in there, like the engaging portion of the 3 E's is important. If you can say something like this, if this video is helpful to you, remember to like and subscribe. That's an engaging portion that you can include there. Or you can put something like, hey, if you like this recipe, if you're doing a nutrition thing, post your favorite, clean eating meal below. And then you can get conversations going with people about what they like to do. And the more interaction you get, the more YouTube will boost you up in their algorithms and how many views you'll get. So anyways, just remember that can work for you as well in your inviting and actually reaching out to other coaches and creating relationships with them. So you can unlock duplication through videos in that avenue as well. All right, so perfect. I'm going to go back to time management a little bit. So we talked about the 80-20 rule. You want to be spending about 80% of your time on recruiting and sales, 20% of your time with team management. The other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about was RSVP. It's an acronym. I think acronyms can be cheesy sometimes, but I think this does really speak to how you should be spending your time. So R stands for recruiting. That's the first thing you need to be doing on your business. That should be the priority. Then after you're done with that, the S stands for sales. So, and then very new people is the V. So the new coaches you're working with, those should be the ones that you're spending your time with after you're done with your recruiting and sales. And then P is performers. So after you've trained the new coaches, the performers are the people who actually execute on things. So if they say they're going to hit Success Club and they hit Success Club, they're a performer. Or if they say they're going to do their power hour every single day and they execute on that every single day, then they're a performer. So the people who kind of put skin in the game and actually make good on what they say they're going to do, those are your performers. You got to focus your time on them. It doesn't mean you don't want to share the love with some of the other coaches who aren't necessarily doing what they need to be doing, but you can't spend all of your time with them. You're going to find that you don't get very much traction. And there's a comment that I heard from another coach in one of these masterminds. It was funny. They said, it's easier to give birth than to resurrect the dead. Meaning that if you've got coaches that are just kind of dead, they're not doing anything, it's easier to go out and recruit a new coach than it is to jumpstart this other coach, get them going and moving. But going back to your recruiting, one thing I would like to suggest to you guys is to put a goal for how many coaches you're going to recruit each month. And the guideline I'd ask you to shoot for is 3 to 5 coaches. If you're shooting for 3 to 5 coaches each month, you're going to be in the game to be able to hit elite. You're going to be in the game to advance your business. But sometimes it's the whole, 2 steps forward, 1 step back type of a thing, because you're going to bring in new coaches. And, as you bring in new coaches, every once in a while, somebody's going to decide to not coach anymore. You know what I mean? You don't retain every single person that comes along. Ideally, that would be great, but it's not always that way. So if you create a little bit higher goal than just 1 or 2 coaches a month, you're going to be able to build your team at a much faster rate. Okay, so 3 to 5 coaches a month is what I definitely recommend for that. As far as your sales are concerned, the other baseline I'd like to say that you should be striving for is Success Club 10. Now, if you're bringing on 5 coaches in a month, that you ain't gonna have to worry about that. That's gonna be taken care of, right? So it'll be good to go. So SE10 is going to be something I would also say that you should shoot for. If you shoot for SE10, you'll be in a good place. Now, there's a lot of coaches that even have like a 10 by the 10th mentality. They want to get to Success Club 10 by the 10th of the month, so it's out of the way. They don't have to worry about it the whole month, and they don't have to stress about it when they're at SE8 on the 29th or 30th or something, right? So I think those are big things as well. The other thing I'd like to talk to you guys about is a time management strategy called the buckets training. Have any of you done a buckets training before?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you guys have, that's great. If you haven't, what I like to think about is time is a commodity. Time is almost like, or like, it's like being paid. If you're on a salaried position, you know how much time or how much revenue is going to be coming in to your bank account every 2 weeks or every month. This is the same way with your time. You only have a certain amount of time every day, and you have to figure out how you're going to budget that time in order to get the most out of your day. I was thinking about this as my son was playing with a deck of cards. They're like Despicable Me face cards, right? And they're all scattered around the floor, and I was like, man, this is a big mess. So I was like, Max, can you please put these away? I need you to put those cards away. Put them back in the deck if you're done playing with them. So he's putting them back, and at the time he was like younger, but he was putting them all back into this box, right? And he didn't have them all properly aligned. They weren't all stacked in order and everything. And since everything wasn't aligned and organized properly, he couldn't fit all the cards back in the deck. There just wasn't room in the box. And it's the same way with your time throughout the day. If you're not organizing your time, if you're not lining everything up, then you're not going to be able to fit as many activities or as many things in your day because it's not all properly aligned. It's not organized, right? You need to organize your time. And if you do, you're going to fit more inside that box. So let's talk about the buckets and how that will help you execute on that. So what I'd like to ask you to do, and I forgot my darn diagram, sorry. So I'm going to do it without it. And I'll post up a picture. And there's obviously some already on this Facebook group from past trainings. But I want you to divide your time up into 5 different buckets, okay? Those are the buckets that you're going to be allotting your time into. So you can do more than 5, you can do less than 5, but I think that 5 is a good number. The reason why I think it's a good number is because there's enough buckets to where you can kind of divide things up into different categories, but not so many that things just get difficult to manage. So let's stick with 5. And what I'm going to ask you guys to do is just divide that up into different categories of your life. Now, each of you might have this different. I mean, we all have different lives. We all have different things we do every day. But I'll tell you how mine works. So my first bucket is my family bucket. That's my most important bucket. So I'd like to ask you guys to draw up this diagram, right? You can use Canva, you can use PicMonkey, you can draw it on a piece of paper with a Sharpie. It doesn't really matter. But draw this up, and from order the buckets left to right in order of importance. So you've got In mine, the very far left is my family bucket. And underneath that bucket, you're going to want to draw or write how many hours you're going to dedicate to that bucket every single day. Okay. So in my family bucket, I have 3 hours a day that I dedicate to my family. Now, that isn't the bucket that has the most hours allotted to it in my buckets diagram, but it is the most important for me. It's my highest priority. Okay. So that's important for me to be able to get that time in with my family. After that, I've got my personal bucket. I got 2 hours related to my personal bucket. And this could be done in a myriad of different ways. You know, for you guys, your personal bucket, you can include your personal development there. You could include your workout there. You could include all of that stuff there if you want. Or you could put that underneath your Beachbody bucket. It's up to you guys where you want to allot the time or how you want to divide it up. Mine's going to include my workout. Mine's going to include any hobbies, things like that. So I've got 2 hours a day and my personal development that I put in there under my personal bucket. That's my second bucket. And then after that, I have my work bucket. I have like 9 hours a day that I put into the work bucket. And then I have service and education after that, and less time. So you have to decide how many hours a day you have to begin with. You know, like how much money did you get paid in your paycheck? Kind of the same thing. And then you can figure out how you're going to budget that time in those 5 different buckets. Like I said, you can title those buckets however you want. That's just an example of how I've got mine split up. But what I do want you guys to have in there is your personal time. I'll tell you this, guys are better at reserving personal time. Girls are more selfless. They say, I got to do my job. I've got to be with my kids. I got to make sure my spouse is happy. I've got all this stuff to do. And then at the end of the day, they don't reserve any time for themselves. So your call to action today is create a diagram of your buckets, those 5 buckets, list them out. What are they? How much time are you doing in each of them? And if there's no personal bucket there, then teacher's going to fail your homework. You guys got to have that there. You guys have probably flown on an airline before, and you say, you watch the safety video, right? As you're watching the safety video, and they say in the occasion that the cabin loses pressure, the oxygen mask will drop down from the overhead bin or whatever, da-da-da-da-da. And then they say, do they tell you to put it on your neighbor first or on you first?
On yourself. On
yourself first, right? Because you can't really help other people if you're not in a good place yourself, right? You need to be in a good place yourself, and then you'll be a lot more effective in helping other people. So put down some personal time there for you, okay? This is hopefully going to be something that's going to help you and your family balance things out a little bit better too. Because I have my buckets up in my house. I created them as well, and my family knows what's going on. And when I'm on my Facebook at home, I get a reminder, this is family time. You know, I get a reminder if I'm doing one thing or the other that I shouldn't be doing, they'll hold me accountable. So it's not a bad idea to take your buckets and put it up someplace where people can see it. The one thing I would say is when you're doing your activity for whatever bucket it may be, make sure that that stays as pure as possible. So if it's family time, put your phone in a basket. You don't need to have it. Did we grow up when we were kids without cell phones? No, we didn't, right? They didn't have them, and we were fine. Everything was great. We were okay people. The world didn't stop spinning. So being without the phone for 2 hours or 3 hours or however long, it will be empowering to you and your family, okay? And also, if somebody sends you a message, they're not going to think you're weird if you respond to them like an hour or 2 later. It's not going to be a bad deal, okay? So that's going to help you feel like you're not being completely bombarded. It's going to give some time for you. It's going to give some time for your family. And then when you are doing Beachbody, you can be focused, all right? How many of you guys get pulled into Beachbody like doing stuff almost the whole day? I think sometimes it can be that way, right? Yeah. So what I'm going to challenge you guys to do is set your business hours. Say, okay, I'm going to be doing my Beachbody stuff from this time to this time. All right? Set your business hours. Know what you need to do, when you need to do it. believe me, again, the world is not going to stop spinning if you wait to do what you need to do until those hours every day. It'll be fine. It'll work out. And you'll feel a balance in your life that you didn't have before. Okay? We want to make sure that you guys have a, what's the word here? A sustainable business plan. That you're not getting burnt out by getting caught here and there doing Beachbody. And I'll tell you this much. If you're laser focused when you're doing your power hour and you're doing everything else and you're doing your Beachbody hours, you're going to get a lot of stuff done during that time. But if you're mixing your buckets together, if you're doing family time while you're doing Beachbody's not going to, your time with Beachbody isn't going to be effective, and your time with your family is not going to be effective. And then all of a sudden, you've used a lot of time and you didn't get as much done as you wanted in either category. Okay? So try and keep the buckets as pure as you can. You know, let your family know, hey, from this time to this time, you can expect me to be with you 100%. From this time to this time, those are my Beachbody hours, and I need as much of that time as I can to focus on Beachbody. And if they know kind of what's going on, it's going to be a lot easier for you, and you'll get a lot more done. So calls to action today. Identify what the things are that you constantly talk about with your team and make a YouTube video for it. Okay? After that, you got to create your time management tool, which is your buckets diagram. Like I said, you can use Canva, PicMonkey, or just take a picture of it and upload it to our Facebook group. But put it on our Facebook group so we can see it. If you guys have questions, just scroll down in the feed of our group, and you'll see examples of some of the ones that other people have done. Anybody have any questions on any of the stuff we've covered so far? Time management, duplication, anything like that?
No, I think I really needed to hear this today. I'm a scatterbrain, and I need to have some kind of organization for my time to better manage everything so I don't feel so overwhelmed. So I'm pretty excited about this.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, thank you.
I hope that this
doesn't matter how many times you hear it, too.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yay, sinking in.
Well, and the interesting thing is you could hear the same message over and over and over again, and you can always pull something different from it and where you're at that particular time in your life, you know? So I hope this was helpful for you, and I hope it was empowering for you. You know, I think as you drill down and you add focus to your Beachbody hours, and you've got your buckets are more pure, I think you'll find that you'll get more done, and you'll be a lot more satisfied with where you're at in your life as well. But I would say, you know, talk with your team about time management. Talk with your team about duplication. Invite them to present. Invite them to contribute where they can. Anyway, well, that's what I've got for you guys today. If there's no other questions, then we'll go ahead and wrap it up. And I look forward to seeing your guys' bucket diagrams on the Facebook group.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone. Yep.
Bye.